Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm joined by Yvonne Cookson from iThink 365. Yvonne, do you want to introduce yourself just quickly for a second?
Yeah, so I'm Yvonne, and I am Head of Operations and Growth at iThink 365, and we're a specialist in Microsoft solutions and products.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I'm really excited about our chat today because we're going to be talking about lead generation, how to be successful. I know there's oodles of tips that you've got, Yvonne. So we'll kind of like dive right in. What I wanted to do first of all is just let anybody know if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments, and we'll make sure that Yvonne gets to see those later on. And also obviously, everyone who's attending the webinar today will get a free digital copy of our 101 ways to drive revenue from your website. But also, if you are looking if you're looking to take a demonstration of lead forensics today, you're interested in actually seeing who's visiting your website, we'll also give you a hard copy of this great big desk book for yourselves as well. So I'll pop the poll just on the screen just so that you can let us know whether you do want to take a demonstration and see your website visitors for yourself. You get to see your website visitors free for 2 weeks, so it'd be really insightful for you to see who's actually visiting. And then, like you say, we'll get a copy of this book sent out to you. It's full. It's absolutely jam-packed of beautiful illustrations, but lots and lots of valuable tips of how you can absolutely maximize your number one piece of real estate, the most underutilized real estate that most marketers have. So I'll just leave that on the screen for a couple more seconds, and then we'll get started. I think that's probably enough time. Okay, right, we will get started. I will give anyone who's joining late a chance to answer that poll a bit later as well. So Yvonne, let's kind of set the scene a little bit. Let's sort of roll back. So let's start with the problem that you had. So what was it? What were the biggest challenges that iThink 360 were facing when it came to business growth and lead generation in general?
I think because we're such a small company, it was really, we obviously we couldn't afford to have a dedicated salesperson. So it was difficult to obviously generate new leads and to always have that work in the pipeline. So you get to a point where work was starting to dry up, and then as a small company, and lots of small companies do this, I've seen it throughout my career, that you start to panic because where's the next work coming from?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was always about that the challenges were awareness of who we were and building that awareness and getting it to the right audience. Because I think it's great putting stuff out there, but unless we're getting it out to the right audience, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, exactly. And so many small businesses do work from that hand to mouth. So getting almost like the flywheel going is actually one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
And so in terms of you come into iThink 365, you know that is your biggest challenge, is kind of changing from that hand to mouth scenario to actually driving that brand's awareness, getting some interest coming into the business. So when you first started to tackle those challenges, what strategies did you try first of all?
So we've tried various different things, and we've used sort of companies to help us with lead generation. But for a company like ours, it just doesn't work. It just didn't work. In the sense that we needed somebody internal that understood the business. You can't sell something unless you fully understand what you're selling.
Okay.
And the people that we were using just didn't have an understanding of what we were about and what we were trying to achieve. So that, I think, was something that when I came along, because I've been with the company 2 years, that had been tried a few times, and there was quite a lot of money sort of spent on that, but it just didn't work. And obviously social media and things like that. But again, unless you're getting the right message out and unless you're getting it to the right audience, it's really, really difficult. So we tried lots of different things, and then I sort of I decided that I think we need somebody internal, and that's where I sort of came along and my role changed quite a lot at that point, and that's really made a difference. It's made a huge difference.
Interesting. So when you saying you're using those lead generation companies, were they like appointment setting companies, that sort of thing? So
Yeah,
it outsourced.
yeah, yeah.
And they just weren't getting, was it that they weren't getting the right sort of leads or the wrong, or not the right volume, or a bit of both?
Both, not the
Okay.
right volume, and the leads that we were getting were just not, none of them sort of went anywhere. And like I say, I think, we've tried it with not just one company, with a couple of different companies, but I think unless, like you say, you have that understanding of what we do and what we're about and what we're trying to achieve for companies, then it's impossible to sort of get that across to people. It's quite difficult.
Yeah. Well, I can
I
imagine.
don't think that's for every company, though. I think it depends on the industry that you're in. Massively.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's a really good point, is that some strategies will work for some
Yeah,
businesses and for, it won't for others. And
yeah,
it's very much horses for courses.
yeah, definitely.
And so when you kind of thought, oh, we need to do this internally, we need to have that kind of in-depth understanding of what we do to get the right opportunities through the door, how did you kind of go? That's kind of like that's a very big playing field there. Where did you start with knowing and thinking what to do?
So again, we tried different things internally. So for me, it was about building the brand and the
Okay.
awareness. So, and I learned that again very early on in my career, that brand awareness is so important, and that
Yeah.
is about somebody remembering you. It's like, say, if they don't, they may not need you now, they may need you in 12 months, but if you've got a real good brand awareness, then they're going to come back to you, they're going to remember you. So it was about building the brand, which we've done over the last 12 months, using technology to help us internally. I mean, we're a technology company, so we should be utilizing the technology to sort of help us
Yeah.
nurture relationships, going back to basics and looking at the customer base that we already had, and not just the customers, but the past customers and past contacts.
Yes.
And it was very much, for me, it was about going back to those basics and contacting those people. And that's, again, that's worked wonders for us.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely, that's really helped. And I think obviously using lead forensics, and we've used lead forensics for a year now, and for me that's been the greatest help, because it's not so much that we've generated hundreds of new leads through lead forensics, but what it has done for me, it's enabled me to see when I've had a meeting with somebody or I've sent somebody something and then they've looked on our website, and so it's striking while the iron's hot. It's been really good for that.
Interesting. So you're using it more so to go, right, I'm re-engaging with these customers or lapsed customers or something. I'm going to send them something and then I'm going to see who's interested. And then what do you do from there? Do you communicate with them further?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how they've come. So obviously, like, we'll put links on social media as well. So if someone's clicked a link, so we can really sort of analyze what's working for us. But
Yeah.
yeah, if we've had, like today, I've been on Lead Forensic and I've seen that 2 of our customers have been looking at specific pages. So for me, that's like, I know, because I know the customer already. It's an easy in. I can
Yeah.
go back to them and say, oh yeah, I've noticed that you've been looking at this. Can I help you? And that really works for us. Now we've tried doing different things with lead forensics, and my account manager Rachel, she's been amazing, and she's helped me like try lots of different tactics. Some have worked and some haven't, but I feel like this last year has been about learning how to utilize that tool that so it works the best it can for us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like that, like you say, when you see that there's been someone on your website, by looking at lead forensics, you're then reaching out personally with a personal approach. And I know that building rapport and nurturing those relationships is really important to you. So how, because I know that we get some feedback with lead forensics where people say, oh, I just don't know how to reach out without it seeming quite like a bit like big brothery, a bit like what's going on, but I think it can often be in the approach. And so when you reach out, is it about building that relationship and that how can I help?
Yeah, definitely. And I always feel like I hate getting sales emails. I hate it. I don't respond to them. But for me, it's about that softly approach. And it's, again, it's like I say, I think nurturing those relationships and having people like people. People like to speak to people. They like to know who they're speaking to. And no matter how much technology we have, people still like people are human at the end of the day. So for me, it's very much about that nurturing, that just works for us. And we've started generating so much more business through our customers that we've had, and maybe we've delivered projects and they've gone, but by keeping those relationships going, it's enabled us to then, when they do have a need, we're the first people there. They're not then looking for somebody else. Now, if I can see that one of our customers has been on our website looking at something, that's just like gold dust for us.
And surely, like you say, being there to be able to help them is actually helpful for them, because likely they're looking for some information. They might have got everything they need. They're likely to have not got everything they need. And actually you can help to plug any knowledge gaps that they might have in a sort of partnership with them.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we've, we don't, not just customers but partners, we get a lot of our work through partners. So if I can see that a partner's been on our website, or even a potential partner, that again is like gold dust, because partnerships work really well together in our industry. So that's again, it's been so helpful for that.
And I think your approach makes real sense. It's going in with that humanized approach of, what can we do to help, rather than like bye.
And it's always comes directly from me, so I like to have sort of that control of that, of contacting and reaching out to people. And we have generated some, we've got a customer in America who's, I'd seen them on Lead Forensics, and because sometimes you'll try and reach out to a company who's been looking at, maybe it might be on your website 10 times and they might have looked at 20 pages. But if they've got 10,000 employees, it's pretty much impossible to find out who that person is. When it's a much smaller organisation. And I think that's a great thing, that you can see that straight away, how many employees they've got. Anything sort of over a couple of hundreds, for me, I don't even look at them now, because it just hasn't worked for me. So it's a waste of my time. And it's about learning what works for you as a company, so you're not wasting that time, you're utilising it and making it work for you.
I think you're right. And I think a lot of people, when they see, particularly with what's coming into Lead Forensics, they see all this data, all these visitors, and they're like, I need to see everything. But actually, if you can filter that down to what's going to be right for your business, that can take almost like an overwhelming amount of data into something that's manageable, which means that you can then make it meaningful by actually working it in the way that that's going to work for your business. And so often actually we advise to distill it down to the stuff that is really important to you, rather than trying to boil the ocean.
And I think especially for a small company, because we don't have numerous sales staff who can look at those potentially new leads and try to sort of find that person. We don't have the time. There's only sort of me and one other that sort of has puts into this. So you've got to make sure that the time that you spend is spent right.
Well, and then you're likely to get much greater conversion as well, rather than spreading yourself too thin and ultimately not generating a lot.
And that's been a learning curve, that. But I think anything in business is a learning curve, and it's good to sort of learn these things. And like I said right at the beginning, every industry is different, every business is different, and it's just about learning what works for you.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I just wanted to touch on something that you said a moment ago, if that's okay, and that is about your social media presence. And you said that obviously you're including links on everything. Now, something in B2B that we hear a lot is that everyone feels like they need to do social media, and in B2B it's kind of like, oh, like, is it going to be actually worth anything? Like, if you post for posting's sake on social media, you're obviously posting that to whatever follower base you might happen to have or not have in B2B, as the case may be, and that's only going to go to that audience. The minute you put, like you say, links, it seems so obvious, but the minute you put links on something that try like breadcrumbs people back to your website, and you can then track that visitor, see who it was, what they looked at, all of that sort of stuff, it makes social media so much more tangible for B2B, rather than just, I'll put a post up. Like, it just sounds so obvious to say put a link on your social media posts, but so many B2B businesses don't do it. They just post, get no value from social media, put a link on it, track it through to your website, track who that person or who that business is, see what they're interested in. Like, you just got a lead funnel right there, right?
Yeah, and it gives you that insight of what people want to see. So
Yeah.
not everything on social media people want to see. And again, that's another learning curve. You've not got someone specifically just working on marketing, which a lot of small companies don't, then that's a great insight to know, well, what links are people clicking on, where where are they going to? So for me, again, that's invaluable.
I think you're right, because then you can spend time curating content and posts and things against subject matters that people are finding interesting. They are picking up.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like you say, is like, don't create stuff that you want to create stuff that people want to hear. And that there's a gulf between those two things.
Yeah, there is.
So you mentioned that obviously you put lead forensics in, you've been working with lead forensics for about a year, tried a few different tactics, and some of those things are really starting to work for you. Is there any other technology that you're using at the minute? Obviously, when they're a small business, tech is quite expensive, right? So especially big tech. And so how are you? What are you using? Any other tech? Have you got a CRM system, or do you not generally use a CRM?
CRM system. I mean, obviously we're a Microsoft provider, so everything we use is Microsoft.
Yeah.
So yeah, we utilize our CRM, but we use that sort of in line with lead forensics. We use them sort of both together.
Yeah.
I mean, for me at the minute, I think that the biggest technology that I'm using, which is helping me, is AI. It's made such a difference to me. And I think it's about, not one bit of technology is going to work. It's about using these things together as a collective. And they all help each other. But again, it's been a learning curve. There's a lot of new things out there at the moment, and it's about learning what hasn't. And AI really works for me. It works hand in hand with like lead forensics and our CRM, and it helps me put things together. It works well with our social media and marketing content, and and productivity. It's made me, I'd say, at least 30% more productive in the last 12 months.
That's amazing. Like you say, especially in a small business, if you can be more efficient and productive with your time, then that's infinitely valuable.
Yeah, because that gives me more time to concentrate on nurturing those relationships and sort of reaching out to those people. So yeah, that again has been invaluable, really invaluable.
AI is pretty smart, and I think there's a couple of camps on AI. Some that love it, I'm in that camp, and some that are a bit wary of AI in terms of what it's going to mean for marketing. But I think the more we can embrace it as marketeers, actually, like you say, in terms of productivity, it's just crazy. And actually, I will admit, I spend some of my spare time on Midjourney. I don't know if you've come across Midjourney. It is incredible what you can create on Midjourney for marketeers. Like, if you've spent time briefing in creative directors and art workers and all that sort of thing on various just to get even halfway there on Midjourney is amazing.
I mean, it's about, for me, AI, it's about using it properly. It's not about, it's there. I class it as having an assistant, and it helps me. I don't get it to do everything for me. It just helps me, and it helps me become more productive. And I think that's the problem with AI at the minute. A lot of people don't utilize it properly in the way that it should be.
Yeah, it's never going to replace, like you say, true marketing talent, but it is an assistant, exactly as you say. It's really helpful. I think that's a good tip. So sorry, I digressed. I have gone off track. I'm really sorry. That was a very interesting point for me because I'm a big AI lover. Right, next question. So engaging dormant leads. So we mentioned about re-engaging with customers. But more specifically, leads that have come in that have gone dormant, I understand that kind of you've achieved some of your biggest successes from doing that. So can you kind of walk through how you identified those, how you re-engaged those, and then kind of what impact that had for iThink 360?
Yeah, I mean, it's not it's not always about just customers. Again, like I say, partner, we do a lot of work with partners. So it's been about re-engaging at those as well. And,
Interesting.
I can see when we've had a partner on the website, or not even a customer, but maybe someone that we've engaged with in the past, and we've not won the work. We've lost the work. And it's
Yeah.
about re-engaging with those people as well. So that for us has been, to be honest, it's been a godsend this year, just doing that. And because then again, those people are the ones that then recommend you to their people.
Yeah.
So you're just building out your network more and more because of just nurturing those relationships. So for me, it's always about starting at the bottom, and that builds out. You're never going to go into this and use something like lead forensics and get thousands of like new customers overnight. It doesn't work like that. And it's about putting the work in as well. Got to put the work into it. It's a great tool, but it doesn't do everything for you. You've got to work at it and manage it to make it work for you.
Interesting. And actually, you mentioned something really interesting there that I don't think is mentioned very often. And I imagine it's a bit of a gap for a lot of people, and that is lost pipeline. Because just because you've lost a business at X amount in time doesn't mean that the vendor that was ultimately selected, that customer is going to be happy with, right? They're still early days in that relationship. There is absolutely the potential to go back. That customer has a need, or that prospect has a need, to go back and just see whether they are happy. Did that work out the way they thought it was going to be? I think that is a hugely untapped little gap that a lot of marketeers don't go after. Is when it's lost, you think, oh, it's lost. But actually, if you go back, a lot of the time, particularly a lot of the time, I talk about myself, like I buy a lot of stuff to see if it's going to work. And the cycle of that buying behavior is relatively quick. Like if you come back to me like a year later or 6 months later, I might well be in the market to try something different. And I think that is quite common.
Yeah, and I think especially in the industry that I'm in, because technology is changing all the time.
Yeah.
So you may have had somebody, a customer or a potential customer who we've lost the work, and they may find a solution for that. 12 months down the line, they may have another need.
Yeah.
All that solution may not have worked out for them.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure that we don't lose those leads as well. So again, lead friends, I can see when, and I love those ones, that they're the ones that make me more excited, because they're a little bit of a challenge, because you're sort of going back in. But often people like that. They quite like the fact that, oh, they're this company, they've thought about us and they're coming back to see us. That doesn't often happen, and you'd be surprised at how much more work you can get through doing that.
I bet it would make you feel important, right? If the company's going to come back to you, it really would.
And again, it goes back to that. People like to feel nice. They like people to make them feel good, and it's that feel good factor.
Yeah, I think I think it's a great tip. I'd be interested to know, actually, if anyone's got in the comments, how many people actually go back after lost pipeline, because I imagine in business it's quite a small number of people of businesses that actually focus on lost pipeline. I imagine it's quite small.
Even customers. I mean, and I learned this. I was an accountant for many years, and the first guy I worked for, he said to me, if you get a client and they leave, never let them leave on a bad note, because 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't work out, they're going to come back to you. And it was so true, and I've never forgotten that, and it's something I've taken throughout my whole career.
Yeah. Well, and often if a customer has been lured by like a grass is greener promise elsewhere, that grass often isn't as green.
Yeah, and we all do that, don't we, in business and in personal life.
Exactly. So just more specifically about the data then, and the insights that you're getting from those website visitors. So you mentioned that you're following up with people or visitors personally, with that kind of like more humanized approach. Do you find that it's generally more you give them a call, you send them an email, connect with them on LinkedIn? Like, what sort of tactics are you using there?
I don't tend to give them a call just because I haven't got the time to do that, but I do reach out by email and LinkedIn.
Right.
And that's another great thing about Lead Forensics. You can just literally click a contact and you're straight on the LinkedIn profile. I'll connect with the company, I'll follow the company, and then I'll start to connect with that person and maybe other people from the LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I would sort of do my reach out.
Amazing. So you actually go in a almost like a dovetail approach between follow the company and start to connect with prospective individuals too. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's yes, I'll always connect on LinkedIn if I can.
Yeah.
Because then I think when they get an email from you, if you've had a connection on LinkedIn, you're familiar because they'll have had to accept your invite. So they've accepted your invite, then you're a familiar name, so you're not just coming out of the blue to them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a face to the name as well, right?
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I'll often then, I'll sit at night doing this and get them to follow our company. So
Yeah.
then we become familiar to them. And it's just having that familiarity really, because that's why people buy things off people, because it's familiar.
Yeah. Well, and interesting is if they follow your company, then you're putting social media posts
Yeah. And it
out.
just grows.
Yeah, it becomes like full cycle.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it was planned that way.
It wasn't, but yeah. But that's just how it works for me. That's how I do it. And yeah, and you don't always get anything. Sometimes, you can send 100 emails, you might get one response, but that one response is massive. It
Yeah.
makes a difference, but it's just about just keep going with it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that's a good point is that a lot of people feel disheartened if they don't quite get oodles of responses straight off the bat of their, I don't know, connection requests or messages or something. Is but people are busy and it's not personal. And actually you got to look at the percentage gains. We talk a lot about pipeline marketing. So I don't know if you send I don't know, 100, how many are you expecting to get back? And then how does that kind of waterfall through the process and set the expectations correct so you don't get disheartened?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's having that knowledge of what people are like again, and Lead Friends, it gives us that knowledge of what people are looking at. And for
Mm.
me, knowledge is power. It's, you know what someone's looking at, then you're sort of halfway there.
Yeah, and it also creates that flywheel as well. Is like, you do some activity one week with connecting, and then maybe they won't accept straight away, but they'll accept in 2 weeks' time. And that just starts to, again, it's like that flywheel. The more you do, the
Yeah,
more results you're going to get.
yeah, definitely.
Makes sense. You talked a moment ago about how you've improved your kind of productivity. Is there any sort of more elaboration that you can do there in terms of how much time it's freed you up, or where you're able to spend your time now as opposed to being in the weeds? Is there anything else that you can let us know in terms of how you've managed to streamline those tasks, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, my productivity definitely, I've worked on it so hard over the last 12 months and it's increased massively, and I'm able to do lots of other things I just didn't get the time to do.
Hmm.
And don't get me wrong, that's not happened overnight. That's been like it's been a road that I've had to sort of go down, and some weeks I've not been as productive as others, but I've got it down to fine art now. And that again, that's through using different forms of technology. It's been immense for me. I couldn't physically do what I do without that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes you just need some space to think rather than do all of the time. If you can get some technology to support with the doing to enable you to kind of take a bird's eye view
Yeah,
and think about the future rather than just stay with like the day-to-day grind. Like
yeah,
it's infinitely
definitely.
helpful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Good, good. And then in terms of client customer retention, have you found that your use of tech has supported in that? We talked earlier about obviously being able to get increase sales, so maybe increase the share of wallet from each customer, that sort of thing. But have you found that it's enabled you to also improve the relations with your current clients?
Yeah, definitely. So this is an example. I'd reached out to one of our past customers who we've done some work for probably about 18 months ago. And we had a meeting with them last week, and they've been looking at something, which they weren't aware that we did that. So just because I'd sort of kept that relationship going and nurtured it, that enabled us to then say, well, yeah, we can do that for you. And, so it's very much about, and it's hard to keep in touch with everybody. But again, if you've got technology that helps you sort of understand who's looking at you, then those are the hot people. Those are the people that you want to be connecting with and nurturing at that point in time. Because, you've sort of got that. It's like I said before, you strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Before they either A, go elsewhere, or B, a competitor then snatches them up.
Yeah.
So definitely. But I mean, for me, customer retention's key. It always has been throughout my life, no matter what industry. If you can keep your customers happy and you do a good job, they're going to come back to you, or they're going to recommend you to other people. And that's just how business works.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a really important point there. And also, as you say, you've got to prioritize. You've got to be able to talk to everybody. So speak to the people that it's relevant to at that time, and then the week after, the month after, it'll be relevant to others.
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes perfect sense in terms of how to maintain those relationships. And I think also oftentimes what we find is customers don't know all of the answers to everything. Nobody does, right? And actually, if you can understand their business and make recommendations, then actually you can, if you take the time to understand, you can make, like you say, further add-on recommendations to actually increase the share of wallet that way as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes customers don't really know what they need.
Yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes, especially, depending on what they're looking for, but they don't, or they might be looking at something that isn't really the right fit for them.
Yeah.
So it's just about making sure that we're in the background and always sort of there to help people and, to make sure, because, we want to make sure that our customers are happy, even if it's not something that we're doing, that they've gone elsewhere, as long as they've got the right thing for them. It's not about selling people the wrong thing. It's about doing the right thing. And, I'm a great believer in honesty in business as well. It's about, being honest. Potentially some customers come along and we can't offer them the solution that they want. Yeah. But by being honest, that customer's definitely going to come back to you and they want a solution that we do.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And I think that, your prospects and your customers are experts in their field. I was talking to one of our customers the other day, actually, who sell pumps. And I know not one jot about pumps. And so actually I would need their advice on upsell, cross-sell, because they understand that sector and that what I would need far more than I do. And so I think that's the thing, is that oftentimes our customers don't know what they might need. But then there might be people or businesses out there want to sell them everything when actually they might not need everything. So that honesty can definitely help to build that rapport, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's
a great point. So you're obviously on a journey right now. It sounds like you've been on a real journey over the past 12 months, maybe even 2 years. What are your what lessons have you learned in terms of your lead generation journey, business growth, journey, and where are you kind of going from here?
I mean, I think the main lesson for me has been, which I said right at the beginning, it's about having someone that understands our business to generate those leads and to nurture those relationships, because without that understanding and knowledge, I can't, if someone came along and didn't understand our business, how can they advise a potential customer on what they're going to need? So, it's been, and when I first came in, I didn't understand it. I've had to learn as I've gone along. And so that for me has been probably the biggest lesson, and always keeping in touch with people and making sure that, if someone is on the website, that's just a sort of sign that, let's just go and say, can I do something to help you? Maybe I can't, but at least that offer's there.
Yeah.
So the biggest lessons really is potentially look at what we've got here already. And I read a book, my Simon, my boss, gave me a book, and I think they're referred to as low-hanging fruit. I mean, I don't like that particular term, but it was so right. And it's just keeping things simple. Keep it simple, keep it real, you're a human at the end of the day. People don't want to sort of see salesy, emails. They want a person.
Yeah, I think you're right. And people forget the human side of things. And actually, just before we wrap up, and we'll kind of come on to like, if you only remember a couple of things from today's webinar, what do they need to be? So I'll give you some time to think about that, Yvonne. But before we wrap up, I will just give everybody who's listening a chance to fill out that poll again. So we're going to flash that up on the screen, and that is that we're offering everybody who attends the webinar with Yvonne and I today an opportunity to check out their website visitors for themselves. That's both prospects, and customers, and lost pipeline, to see, who's visiting and what stage they're at, what they're interested in, contact information, all that. So if you would like to take a demonstration of lead forensics and try it out for yourself on your business website, you can keep the leads that you generate, by the way, then just answer the poll to say, yep, you'd like a demo, and our team will be in touch to get that scheduled for you. By attending today, you get a free digital copy of our 101 ways to generate revenue from your website. But also, if you do take out a little trial of lead forensics to see your website visitors, we'll send you a hard copy as well. And as you can see, it's quite a chunk on your desk. Loads of tips in there. I guarantee if there's only one extra strategy on here, it's going to drive some value to your website. So but I think they'll probably find more than one strategy that you're not currently employing in there. And our aim is for everybody to really maximize the value from the website, which, in my opinion, is the most underutilized asset in the marketer's kind of toolkit. So I'll leave that up for a couple more seconds, and then Yvonne will just come back to your kind of final thoughts to see what we want everyone to kind of take home. So we'll just drop that poll there for a second. And so, Yvonne, final thoughts then. So just if people listening can remember just like one or two things that they should just keep in their mind, kind of like that one takeaway that you've got from that book that you read. What would your advice be there?
I mean, I think for me it would be never give up, keep trying and try different things. Don't try one thing, and because it doesn't work, give up. Keep trying different things, and that's what I've done, and that's really worked for me. Also, planting those seeds and nurturing those seeds will definitely grow into something, and utilize technology.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I remember that you were saying to be rememberable as well. So not too sales orientated, be human.
Yeah, be human. It's nice to be nice, and people like people.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And so on that in that kind of same vein, Yvonne, if anyone has any questions that they want to pose to you afterwards, or they want to connect with you, I'm assuming you're happy for people to connect with you on LinkedIn. And I know that you've mentioned that you're happy for us to give your email address to anybody who might want to connect with you.
Yeah,
okay,
no
super. So if anyone wants to have Yvonne's email address to get in touch with her, just drop us a note in the comments, and we'll send it out to you. I'm not going to send it out on this kind of broadcast. We'll do it on a one-on-one basis. I guess all that leaves me to say then, Yvonne, is just a massive thank you to you for today. I've loved chatting with you. I've written a whole page of notes. And I think there were some really pertinent points in there that I think a lot of marketers will get a lot of value from. So thank you for spending the time today, just walking through your experiences, your journey that you've been on. Yeah, I've loved talking to you, and
me too. Thank you for having me and asking me to do this. If I can help one person, then I've done something really good today.
I will be surprised if you haven't. Well, you've helped one person to me, because I'm literally going to jump off of this and go and look at our lost pipeline. So that's one for you. there will be many more, I have no doubt.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Yvonne, and everybody else. We'll have we run this webinar series a couple of times a month, so hopefully you've got some value out of today. I have no doubt that you will have, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.